Provoking the yoga the Katang, the Hanji Yundi, the Shure, the Ketangi, also something the that's asking Boyma. Something get a sonum Jayamati, Sanjay Hako Yore, the Tong, also Tong, you're the major way, same someday. The David Jew song, the Samangi, the Kanga Yore dinner, Dragon Kajugandi, Madi Sondre Yore dinner, Kanga Samdang Nijitele only. Oh, Lingtong San took him to answer person. Kanga dinner Shakata congregate. Take it, Samdang Nijit, Jam so Chimbonadi, that's what of yours. Circle tongue say, I'm a sort of yours. There is there. That's about it. The wrong capacity to cook. Sanjay Shakta Toba son. Tam K to get. I don't tabla cabaret. Tabla caba, carriage. That was so good. So some to taste him, but same with some days that was Yataba. The daughter Chetabati. That's how they read. The Sanjay Shibati, Sanjay Yongti, Sanjay Yongti, some child. Oh, that thing something did that was ya. You are the chairman with something that was our tactic. So the Sanjay at the territory, Tonke to J.S. This water, the children on talkers over the Sanjay to one top gate of J. the wrong song, the way to the destiny. Kare tablo ke bata samhin ke ta ko ja ti khong samhin ke te mangwa sab khong ja shin ti samhin ke te ra ke seng du la seng samhin se du je ta ba ti monam tab te tablo ke ba ba de ri de ve tablo ke ba somebody else.
So yesterday I spoke a bit about the qualities of the Buddha, and we also heard that love and compassion are very important qualities because they are the cause of merit, and this is what the Buddha knew. And so love and compassion is not something that we can see with our eyes. It's not a material thing, but it is the cause of all happiness. And so where can we find a description of the qualities of love and compassion? There is this prayer in the Qigong tradition called the fivefold path of Mahamudra supplication prayer. And in the beginning of the prayer, it says, the embodiment of bodhicitta, which arises from an oceanic treasure of loving kindness and compassion. So that's how it begins. That's the first line. And this kind of the one who is the embodiment of bodhicitta, that is a reference to the Buddha Shakyamuni and to his boundless love and compassion. He made his love and compassion as vast as an ocean and inexhaustible. Whoever drinks from this ocean of love and compassion can drink from it endlessly. And so this is a praise that we find in the Qigong Kagyon. There are many other different praises. For example, also by Jigten Sumgön, there's a praise to the Buddha Shakyamuni, where he describes the Buddha, or he praises the Buddha as someone very skilled in means. And how is he so skillful? It's because this mind of love and compassion is not something we can just hold on to like a material thing. But the Buddha is skillful in showing us how to preserve, how to keep love and compassion within one's mind. And the Buddha showed many methods for holding on to love and compassion for many lifetimes. So there's different praises to the Buddha's great skillful means in the Qigong Kagyu lineage and all the other different traditions as well. And that all praise the skillful means of the Buddha. And so the Buddha is skilled in showing us in the method of holding on to love and compassion. And whoever is able to arouse this mind of love and compassion will be able to develop a true mind of bodhicitta. And so what this prayer here is saying is that the Buddha is the one who is very skillful in helping us develop love and compassion. So.
대회다당서 칼라스는 사지용디 삼차데 사지용디 삼데 차바래 되는 지디 칸에 용디지 망보 요래 삼고 요래 사지 직부터 용디 다이바 가래서는 오 삼제다 보자네 다들 산촉섬이 저한테 라주리네 진주를 뺄때마다 다 사지게 저요래 대로 다 가래리 심지는 상계요 하고는들이 상무제부터 가리적하래 저 난지레스 상계를 난지되면 난지의 상소나 들이 총상계레스 심지는 상계이 심지는 상계에 봐 하고 난지 이 차거네 이 차도로 들이발 내가 뭐 어째요래 돈을 세문에들 나지니 더 하면 덕대래 다 다니지 좀 말해서 생활로 다니지 소소 좋아해 뒤도면 이렇게 시합인 거 이래서 나서 벌써 이 장기 시합 보면 벌써 그래 시합은 탈토 같들이 생내로 갖거나 내lok도 바로는 시합 사활로는 매일 알아서 주 탐지 시합도 바로도 생부대로 갖고 그래 생부대로 갖고는 가려 나지님 독서 때 갖고 그래
And so also when we are eating food, for example, we always say this prayer, the qualities of the Buddha are beyond measure, are boundless. And now we speak about these boundless qualities of the Buddha. And so one may wonder that, so in this world, there are many kinds of good qualities all over the world, but like, why do we really highlight the Buddha's boundless qualities? It's because the Buddha actually has a way to help us preserve our love, our compassion, and for self and for others. He can help us awaken these qualities also within ourselves. So that's this boundless quality. He doesn't just have it for himself, but he actually can help us arouse these qualities within ourselves, within boundless beings. And so he can do that because he had realized that every sentient being already possesses Buddha nature. And so then why are they not enlightened yet? It's because of self-grasping. So because of self-grasping, we are not yet enlightened. But if we are able to let go, to purify self-grasping, then what remains, the mind itself, is Buddha. So therefore, the Buddha himself said, the Buddha is within all sentient beings. And so this term sentient being it refers to a being that has a dualistic perception. And once we have this dualistic perception of self and other, then it becomes very complicated. We have to do all kinds of things in this world then. And so actually the Buddha showed us that there is no such a self actually. It is something that we fabricate, we make that up ourselves. And so this is what the Buddha explained Tenzin, the perfection of wisdom, the prajna, paramita teachings, to translate like in the Heart Sutra and so on. There are many teachings on that. But to the ultimate perfection of wisdom really is to understand the nature of the mind. And Milarepa had said, when you realize the true nature of the mind, there is no other perfection of wisdom than that. So in essence, what we need to do is realize, understand the true nature of our mind. And what is that? It is to realize that self and other, this duality, do not actually exist. So this is what we need to understand. Lasso?
담비 추장 삼매 잡지. 추지 용진 삼점 맞아버려야지. 추잡지 자와가리. 주봉 제대로 동거 자와 상적 정말 추시반 타르토로 너도 객동자 삼년지리. 니지리 삼바던 니지. 잠바레서 온 니지지. 그래서 잠바던 니지니 강내 디바들이 최종 강디네 뒤축에 내가 타토게 용띠 가래 내가 타고 그러지. 너네 미고랬어. 뒤축에 내가 타고 요래. 대토가 저대 가래 다 삼바던 니지가 그래지. 다 치징지서 문이래지. 다 삼바니지 짜지 모래지. 대리 삼바니지 짜지 동가래지. 생남카 따면데라. 석은 통주제를 열도 맞아봐. 다삼 주면 시라 팔았으네. 생남카 따왜 옛날에 생으로 초반 남도 담아나가서 째기도 하고 그래. 들 나이니 제드나. 나이니 요는 전 지디지 제지. 제가를 이지디만 다지디지 다이체체노 생은 동양으로 나니체체는 조요래. 나니체는 저런 들이들 다들 좋아해도 다 남식이 차고 나니들은 유머 독진은 다 좋아해서 무슨 차고 무슨 차고한테 은혜를 왜 말이 차고로 나게 했어. 차고로 나게 했어. 차고때 사제는 좋아해도 요나 차고로 접어대 쉬야 요래. 차고로 선바 쉬야 요래. 저는 가리게 줘. 차고로 좀 매셔 거라. 아스. 오늘 저도 동네 시작구나. 다 니게 거래. 니게도 니만이 어찌 말해야지. 추기용지 써마저. 담추에 추도 니마다 그래야지. 게디 바보 게디 써마 잡되는. 추대 서치가 되네. 당보 투 빠르들 삼노 동동들. 대냠이서 고민다. 담배지 생규티 랑이 차그럼도 객송나. 다 이는 되게 하게 동에 식탁분도 저도 다 식걸 서로 동에 먹거나 되게 식탁분도 다 동무도 다 견디리 견디 용띠 삼 차데 다들 이제 띠 칸나들이 사제 좀 되게 수남 탐지하니 주시면 레점데 시행이 돼 수남 제출해야지 수남 집아들 랑나 비마다 이는 대와 띠는 수남라 그래야지 랑을 산지 또는 유를 고와도는 쪽으로 이동랑 이동이 냠도 버려. 그 가리에 송아지 다. 대송 탑디다. 몰람레스. 뭐도 몰람데레스. 말아베 돈이 잡아 팔을 몰람사와 롤메스. 그아치 좀 가리 졌나요. 대 뭐도 몰람게 제대 버레스. 몰람되게 랑을 상니게 되게 랑 도와타도 그러지. 이는 피고 싸면 되게 이 조어지 받게 랑을 도와타 그래. 랑 조어는 나도 받치는 조어래. 이 싸면 랑 도와타 조어래. 이는 피받는 랑을 대와 샤고요래. 데레들이 돈이 잡아 팔로나 몰람사와 롤메.
So then next, so first we have said that the Buddha is boundless, is inconceivable. And then next, in a prayer, we say the Dharma is inconceivable. And so also the qualities of the sacred Dharma are limitless. So, for example, there are 84,000 Dharma teachings, and all these Dharma teachings all arise from bodhicitta. So to put it in simple terms, all those Dharma teachings come down to love and compassion. And that is compassion that comes from love. And then to whatever extent one is able to develop love and compassion, to that extent one will experience temporary and ultimate happiness, or one will develop temporary and ultimate qualities. And so what is this temporary and ultimate quality? It is that we will attain happiness, and that is what we want to gain. And the only cause of happiness is love and compassion. And when you see that, you realize that, oh, the Dharma really has these amazing qualities. Love and compassion are most precious. And so how can we develop it? So the mind is like space. You can't see it. It's not a material thing. It is said in the perfection of wisdom that it is inexpressible in being beyond words and thought. That is the perfection of wisdom. And so still, even though there's nothing that we can actually see, there's no real thing, still we experience all kinds of feelings and thoughts arising in the mind. And so these are the thoughts that arise as thoughts of self and other. And so as long as you still perceive this self and other, you should cherish others more than you cherish yourself. Because if you are selfish, even though you can't see that self, by just thinking about yourself, cherishing yourself, that sense of me just grows stronger and stronger. And if that grows stronger, then the 6 realms of samsara will always naturally unfold and appear very clearly as though it is real. But is it real? It's not actually real. The Buddha said, essentially, it is just like ice. It's not actually real. It is like ice. But for the time being, ice seems to be a solid, real thing. But then ultimately, the Buddha said, even though the 6 realms appear, they can also be purified. So the ice, in other words, can also melt. But how can we melt the ice? To melt the ice, we need heat, we need fire. So you can tell those, or the Buddha tells those who want to be free from suffering. So if you want to be free from suffering, then you need to melt the ice. The fire that melts the ice is compassion, or compassion is like the sun that melts the ice. So that is why the qualities of the Dharma are boundless, are inconceivable, because the Dharma is like the sun. And then thirdly, the Sangha is also inconceivable, it's also boundless. And from the Sangha, first, we must learn from the Sangha. So we first listen, and then we reflect on the meaning of what we heard. And then we put that into practice by practicing meditation. And this is the way then to actually melt one's own ice block. So the Sangha melts their own ice. And once your own ice is melting, you can also help others learn how to melt their ice. And that is, whoever wants to be free from suffering, the Sangha then shows them how to melt their ice. So this is what the Buddha did in this realm, in this world. He actually said that because the Dharma is so inconceivable, he said that among the various sources of merit, those who teach the Dharma create the greatest merit. And that is because The Dharma is what brings yourself benefit. It benefits yourself and it brings happiness to others. And so for yourself, you achieve liberation, happiness, and for the sake of others, you steer samsara from the depths for others. And in this way, the purpose of others and oneself is accomplished simultaneously. So in terms of aspiration prayer, Milarepa had said that when aside from accomplishing the two purposes, there is no other perfection of aspiration prayer than that. So meaning that whatever virtue you do, the virtue must be completed, kind of sealed at the end with an aspiration prayer. And so that is because when you seal the dedication prayer, you're giving it to others, and so by doing that, by cultivating love, your own obscurations become purified, and then so that is, in other words, when you look at others, you're purifying your own obscurations. So when you care for others, you purify your own obscurations. When you look at yourself, when you care for yourself, then those obscurations only grow bigger. And so therefore we seal, and we practice with this prayer for others. And this is what accomplishes the purpose of self and others. So that's the meaning of Milarepa's quote: aside from accomplishing the twofold purpose, there is no other perfection of aspiration than that. So?
다비 주로군 저기 뭐는 이 차송스 다비 주로 다 소당 가서 남들은 말에 쇼를 다 라만 계시 나그 뭐체가나 다르반냠니다 수담 건설제 냠리제다 요 주바레스 나도 콜라바레스 나도 가요 말레스 콜라바데 가제 코바는 니메요 시요메다 베게적인 전보를 쭉 요래 오래때 따다다리 대다와서 옛날 때는 고대지 차송스 사지 좀 되게 대 말에서 강에 삼바게다 먹이세라래 게득 중이 제종 짐로서 난 삼바 소리스 난 삼바 되게 고르스지 좀 그래 다 조제네 다라 피마도 얘는 노바 가나 데르들이 다지냐부터 터서 정말 대중지 모르면 대마지 샘들 다지니까 zon스 파만 마비바 직장에 봐 핀바송을 레가들랑가 강 탑탑대 대랑랑 타고 자라 잡조거리 샘들 참아하고 거리 대게다 지청 가래 졌나야지 뭐하고 뭐라게 뭐람 자지대 다 산지게 나가리스 대를 말아래 딱 가리라고 그러더라 세제 초제 8월나 탑이사와 로드메스 당가서 탑을 캐고 요레스 탑디 시성나 오 기와데 대대와 라게 파기지가 마창세 지정제 되는 오 마창세 지정제 바로도 서마도 다 창이 요레스 나그 삼아도 봐줘 라게 마창되라 그런 냠도 요레스 옛날에 다 탑지 슬로라리 탑지 참아지 말레스 파마 마제바 나무 마제바 진짜 요 말이 샘도 대지 다 탐제 나무 창제 엄마도 담아도 속자지나 탐제 당이랑 나무나 지래 그래서 피종대 따나들이 포보서만 돈을 담아들이 제래되지 벌새 감직 담서게 왔다 왔다 들어 속자지로 속자 하나 좀 정도라 고소 파마레 어디 계다가 고소를 이제 계속 고소 나라 피요레스 왜 고소를 제마다들 제베테 오 감성 심심담질 파마담질 고고 상다스는 사제스에 모아나 뭐라 오 드리자 타이 잡도는 저택계 성수나 잠도 마제 받을 제기요나 다 사제 탈람네비 세제 초제 파론나 탑지사와 놀라메시 돈이 잡아 파는 모나사와는 또 모나한테 기치버려 생기 받은 모나를 기치버려래시 대선은 되게 말해 세체 토지 파는데 될 것 같아 보여래 오 마땅히 인도 있잖아 오 대답 제세 파 잡았다와 제말이 너봐봐 저참리 야다 강이 같아서 조바 광고래 야 님이 매주 달래까지 거래 종들이 다 대도 점바 저참 조바 대선선은 돌이 매들이 점바를 때는 로주 저참을 때는 물이 야 조바를 때는 조당 뭐 동지 받아봐 돌이 저 쓰사가 요래대 오 돌이 저리도 대답도 계산 쓰는 거 저리도 쓰는 뭐 마시나들이 잘아야 볼게 그냥 파용자를 들 돌아도 그래 언제제리 내가 야 다보자들 셀 충충을 다보자는 들서도 쳐본다 그래 왜냐 셀이 세면은 요래 세면은 저디용들이 셀도도 이렇게 셀을 뭐지 셀이 용디 가래는 셀들이 강한 손아들이 십지를 세면 빙기 요래 주바 요래 그래서 뭐지 아치 뭐 공치 뭐래 베티다 당치 뭐래 조금 장난대 용대 미다 변해서 거래 림보치 데이터는 사족집이 세더래 돌아줘야 요 말했고 데이터 하고 그래서 사족샘지 베티 다 세리 사족샘지 세리 베야 요래 데이터들이 사족샘 삼제리 돌 당에 세도도 적토서 또또 자 총총들 삼인제잖아 당에 순한 배치 못하서 세도 토송데 대랑상대 모아에 다 모아 강들이라 모아도 사제 탑을 개배송 저단 네버 사제 좀디 탑제 모아 당 저단 마주모 사제 탑제 모아 저와 당 저단 다다리 저고 사제 좀디 있는지 모아 마게 대냐디 네버 사제 강 드랑 모요리 습지 탑제 모요리 마음보 사제게 습지 탑제 모요리 내야 습지 탑제 모아에 사 당황하면 제다가 돌아줘야 요 말이 돌아줘야 매일대지 수능때 돌아줘야 매일 사람을 배샤는 무상을 쪽잖아 무상을 쪽이도 그만 잡고 그렇다고 말해 라비치 다드 정도의 대응 못하지 다드 정도의 열도지 누제리면 다 말이 삼아 데이터 하고는 때려 탑지 줘다 탑지 줘지 세제 토스 세제 토스 바라나 세제 토스 바라나 직장을 방고 저기는 주 칼라사고 그래 칼라사라 네 칼라사 요리사고 그래 나도 거기서 말했지 주소 보는데 주은혜이 요말 스범범 참만 보고 사요리지 오니 스범범 참만 볼 칼라트이 요리사 들티 탐저 상이지 스범범 참만 보더란 거 파만 마제 버쩍자 요말이 야상하시는 라리 대다 다 소당 나좀 남을 봐요 데레레 요래 다 사축 선바들이네 나랑 것은 보다게 파마레스 상하이 조금 참말라레 라카레 보다 대세 정보 요래스 셈도 요리 대세 정보 요래요 상하보다 더 채워요 방강점지 라레 좀 봐요 사나 아사게지 얼마 나도 요를 잡아 나 요미 딱지 땅고 말에 데려오지 데리라고는 맞서는 때네 다 참아 조사리죠 참아 참상대 땅나 참상대라는 게 사람라서 통대 참상대 가는 땅나 들어서 차탑지게 같이 싸게 요리도 같이 되게 팽이 거지 그 참상대들은 소남 집어 싸서 수능들 뭐고 사들다 보자는 데르세 제 초저 바로 탑지사와 로로메에서 되게 뭐 뒤에만 쓰는 사크 요리 술로 사지 나보자 맛이 바로 뭐지 맛이 들 돌아 당성 대 돌아 땅나양 다 뭐만 막고 돌아 줘서 다 가르쳐야 돼 다다디 대야 세무를 함지리 돌아 땅사 요말 다대랑 그서 이거 내 돌아 땅한테 줘봤지 양장 모았지라 주디수는 저 톱톱이 오래시 돌아줘야 오늘 수능때 돌아줘야 그러면 양추랑은 모아마지 모아마시라 추랑은 매야요 말다 라그 때 모아지라 들이 상제종은 들이 수능 Sulam Jung, Sulam Tiri, Sulam Church, Sulam Kache, Danti, Shekdor, Danti, Mena, same day, Chagram Dote, Simi Yeni Saji, or Sanji Lavate, Takaigo, Tapsamata Niji, Jago, Titia, Mamanam Jago dogs, the Hakos on the tree, Malaribe, told the parolna, touches of our own mate, Data was somewhat on Goreso.
Notes.
Mantras going to
Mari ngati ikati ntik sama bisa. Pada begini bisa. Nggak pakai Amazon. Okay. Then and then so after the I have to just find the beginning of my notes. Okay. And so now in this world, so we So in this world, we have just two traditions. We have the Dharma tradition and the worldly customs, the worldly ways. And so for the most part, when we follow the worldly way, that is when we follow just our ordinary ways as samsaric beings. If we follow the Dharma way, in a Dharma, for example, we follow any of the three levels of the three kinds of Dharma paths. And then we enter these paths of either Pratimoksha, Bodhisattva, or Vajrayana. And then we engage in practice. We practice the Dharma path. We listen, we reflect, and we meditate on the Dharma. So we cultivate the Dharma. And so in this way, we create our own happiness. We let go of self-grasping. And so now in the worldly ways, we essentially follow our self-grasping. We do as we please. And so that is the fault of samsara. And that is something that samsaric beings don't understand. They don't understand the faults of samsara. And not understanding those faults, they continue to engage in the 10 non-virtuous actions over and over again. So because of that, we now have samsara and nirvana. And the Buddha had said that, so do not fall into this kind of divided way of thinking so we're samsaric beings, there's nothing I can do, and these are Dharma practitioners, they practice. The Buddha said, no, that's not how it is. Because whatever action you do, what makes it virtuous or non-virtuous depends on the mind's intention, not the outer appearance of what it seems that you're doing. So a point is that it's not about like one does it, we are all in samsara and then the rest, and then others are practicing the Dharma. This is just the outer appearance. So don't follow the actions that kind of look kind of virtuous just on the outside. It's really the inner motivation that matters. So we need to understand really what is the real fault of samsara. A real fault of samsara is seeing yourself as most important, and for the sake of your own well-being, you do whatever it takes, and that also involves harming others for your own sake. So the Buddha said, don't do that, but at least train the mind that holds both self and others as equally important. Because all beings have been your parents. So if you think you're a worldly, samsaric, ordinary being, you can still practice the Dharma. You still, of course, you need to do your work. You have your job. You have to take care of your family and do your responsibilities. But then you can at the same time see all other beings also as your family. All those beings out there have also been your parents in a previous life. And so then once you practice virtue in this way, it's also important to complete all virtue with a dedication, a prayer for the benefit of all these beings. And so that's the next line that Milarepa had said. Milarepa said, aside from practicing virtue, accumulating merit in whatever you do, there is no other perfection of skillful method, skillful means than that. So when practicing merit or practicing the Dharma, we need to be skillful. We need to have skillful means. And if you understand that, if you have skillful means, then you can practice the Dharma in whatever you do. For example, a father who takes care of a family, is looking after a family, can see all other beings as his family as well. So even though that's the main responsibility now to take care of the family, if you see all other beings also as your family, then whatever you do becomes the 6 paramitas just naturally, because that parent does not think about themselves. They think that right now I'm caring for my family, but out there are so many beings and all of them have also been my family. And then whoever they encounter, even an animal, any being that they encounter, they will see them as part of their family. In the Three Skanda Sutra, the Three Heap Sutra, there's this line that says, Chenrezig is by offering just a spoonful of food to an animal, just as Chenrezig did. So offering a single spoonful of food, just as Chenrezig did. So that is with that intention of Chenrezig, it becomes very powerful, a great merit. So then if you can see it that way, you know that. So they are my, all the beings out there are my family. And when you see an animal, for example, you see them as a family. And that is why you think, I must feed them, I must do something for them. And then in the end, dedicate that virtue that you have created for all beings in the 3 realms, that they may all become enlightened. And practicing in this way is just like adding a drop of water into the vast ocean. That drop of water will remain in the ocean until the entire ocean dries up. So it will last. So this is what Milarepa has meant with those 2 verses. So practice merit in whatever you do, and then seal it with aspiration prayer to accomplish the purpose of self and other. And that means that the prayer must be motivated by an altruistic intention of bodhicitta. And then that quote, do practice merit in whatever you do. So, and that is when you look after a family, for example, you give them everything and out of love, and that is generosity. And then you don't harm them, you don't hurt them, and that is the perfection of ethical discipline. And then you also practice patience when it gets difficult. And that's the perfection of patience. And then you work tirelessly for them day and night. And that is the perfection of diligence. And so actually, if you have the first 3, generosity, ethical discipline, and patience, these qualities are what create the happiness of the higher realms. And so that is, if you have generosity, through generosity, you will find wealth, the happiness of wealth. Through ethical discipline, you will find a precious human body. And through practicing patience, you will have harmonious relations, a beautiful appearance, and experience a long life. And so no matter what merit you create, you must also know how to dedicate it. If you don't know how to dedicate it, then it is like you're taking a very precious object and throw it in the trash. Or it's like finding a small piece of gold, a precious piece of gold, and just tossing it away in the trash because you don't recognize its value. And so this piece of gold that's bodhicitta, is the gold, the jewel of bodhicitta. And so also a bodhicitta, so bodhicitta is said to be like gold because gold itself as a kind of precious material, a precious metal, is said to be, for example, good for your health if you wear it. And it's expensive, it's very valuable, and also it can't easily get spoiled. So that is why we say bodhicitta is just like gold. And so therefore, whenever you develop a moment of bodhicitta or just a little love and compassion, then it's like you should recognize, I really have received some gold, something very precious. For example, if you feel a moment of love for a little animal, or you feel some compassion, then think that now I found something very precious. It's like I got some precious gold. And once you have that, it's also important to dedicate it immediately. And that's the skillful method of the Buddha. So the skillful method of dedicating is, there's this prayer where we say, I dedicate just as the past Buddhas have dedicated. I dedicate just as the future Buddhas will dedicate. And I dedicate just as the present Buddhas dedicate now. So how have they dedicated? All the Buddhas of the past, present, and the future have dedicated for the benefit of all beings. And so just like that, I dedicate for the benefit of all sentient beings. And so if you seal or kind of complete your virtue in this way, then the merit will not become spoiled. It will remain. So it is just like putting your money in the bank. If you put your money in the bank, it's safe there. No one can just steal it or rob it from you. If you hold on to it on your body, then you can easily lose it. And that's because phenomena are compounded and therefore impermanent. It can easily get lost. So that's the supreme method. The supreme skillful means is to practice merit in whatever you do, and then dedicate that merit through aspiration prayer. So in this way, whatever you do, you can make it be a great merit. Even if you have nothing, like if you are poor like a beggar, then you can still create merit because you're still eating. So but then when you understand that, you won't just think that, oh, I'm eating because I'm hungry, but you recognize that actually this body is not really you too. It's actually composed of like 1,200,000 different kinds of microorganisms. So your body is filled with all these microorganisms, all these beings, and all these beings have a mind. And so you can think of them as your parents from a bodhisattva perspective. You can think that all these beings with a mind have been my parents, so I'm feeding them now. So that's the way a bodhisattva would practice. If you understand the Vajrayana, then you would see all these beings as the deity. And why are they deities? It's because they possess Buddha nature. They have a mind, so they possess Buddha nature. So the Vajrayana practice, therefore, is much more powerful. You can actually see your entire body as filled with deities. So there is no self that is eating. But so when you're eating, don't even analyze whether or not the self exists. So don't even think about the self in this or that way. And just recognize that my body is filled with these microorganisms, and so you either making an offering to them as a parent, or you seeing them as the actual deity. So in this way, everything you do becomes merit. Or even when you go to the toilet, when you go to pee, or you go to toilet, then you can still create a lot of merit by doing that, by just peeing. because some animal might drink or eat it, and or it might find some other bring some other kind of purpose. And so if you see it in this way, then even that becomes really a great merit. And so the point is that you recognize the merit, and then you also instantly dedicate it. If you dedicate it, then you actually keep the merit. It doesn't go away. And so this is the way to create merit continuously. And so actually what we always actually do create merit continuously, but the problem is that we don't usually know how to dedicate it properly. So we do have merit all the time, but we are not holding on to it because we are not dedicating it. And so in this way, it may seem that it becomes spoiled, so we kind of lose the merit, but you don't actually really lose the merit too. You don't lose it because it's all mind. And the mind, nothing can be spoiled or lost in the mind. So that means, in other words, you can dedicate things retrospectively. So the things that you did in the past, you can dedicate them now and then still gain that merit back. But of course, if you just simply never dedicate it, then it just won't be there accessible to you. Just when you dedicate, then you can dedicate the present merit and the merit of the past. And in this way, you just keep growing your merit bigger and bigger. And as merit grows bigger and bigger, self-grasping more and more diminishes. And it is just like an ice block melting. And when there's no more grasping, so when all the ice is melted, then what remains is just the mind. And the mind itself, in its natural state, primordially, is the Buddha. So it's actually not complicated. It's quite simple. We just need the skillful means, the method. And the method is to develop the merit of love and compassion, and then dedicate it with aspiration prayer. And so that's the skillful means. So this verse by Milarepa, practice merit in whatever you do. There is no other perfection of skillful means than that. And that's really something we should think about very well. Also?
다 도시 휴대수 남들 그 sab들이 하고는들이 라과도 칼라사를 가르다는 게 스비탑지라 삼히게지나 들이들 칼라사나 그 나타 탐지라 팽기오래 들이랑에 니에도 라는 지아치 대담이라는 게 조건을 대지아 랭기오로 고도 참아라는 게 대답이 하고는 들이게 아고절을 주바 당들이란 게 냠들이 이제 대기치 보여래 내세 제초도 팔았나 소리에 하장도 지보래 별에다 잡을 지역과 내가지면 저걸 그래가 갈래요라 대답지 거기 샘샘지 담제 핑고 산을 내야 되는 차마 사제 고망토지 소소를 장을 절대리 주발을 절대리 샘지 담제 별 모라저 갈핑도 때는 Somebody that makes it right. Same thing, pink or some lot in Madonna. The Hajan Karchibore, the Vera, the Malariba song, the Haya Chuk Chimbore, didn't say, told the part of Tabitha or made. Oh, Tibata, this was so chat and say, Koto Tara Garita with the base, Dakiore, or data with Jimbal do you, son. No papa Dzogchen or tacos, Pimpate Jimba, three Lakpata Yidan Yetapira, like some teeth archiboy instantly, Nam Yam de Oba Tetavilla, Zubagom de Haja Karchibori, Tritata, Malari Pake, Numba Tamchi than Italy, the Shedan to one made. We saw Zawa Shedan is all about the Zubagom there. Malay Patrick Jackie, my Shadang Jackie, Soul Pactas Zupagom, so they already Zupagom rang, Matecam, I am the day or so Tupam Maja or 지앙하만이 리리와리 대삼네 평균 텀보지 들이대 습지담된 텀보를 지시라는 건 랑랑이나 텀보지 그치 뭐요래 들이대는데나 참 좋아해.
Yeah. So now what's most important is to understand that the essence of all marriage is love and compassion. And even when you eat, for example, think with love and compassion of all these microorganisms inside of your body. Make whatever you do a cause of creating merit. And then especially those who are near you, those who the way you think about those microorganisms, they are also kind of taking birth as the beings that were very near you. So they are very dear to you, actually. And so if you eat in this way with great love and compassion for all these beings, then actually it is also very good for your physical health. And also it can become an offering to the three jewels. So in whatever you do, try to practice merit. That's really the most important point to take from this. And also, for example, nowadays, if you do an ordinary thing, like you're a scientist or you're some kind of developer who creates some sort of technology, for example, like cars and so on, it still can become an altruistic activity if you have the intention of wanting to benefit others. Then it actually becomes that. So when you make a car, for example, and you think that how can I make it so that it brings benefits to others, that then becomes altruistic, because as we said, that virtue is determined by the intention and nothing else. So it's just the inner intention of bodhicitta that makes something virtuous. And so therefore these lines by Milarepa are really extremely meaningful. So make everything you do a practice of merit. So as we said, for example, when you go to pee, then there can be some benefit in that. There may be some organism, some life form that drinks or like eats your pee, and think of it as generosity. And then by giving it away in this way, it becomes generosity. And by giving up harming others, what you do becomes ethical discipline. So helping others is generosity, not harming others is ethical discipline. And it's most important to practice this with those that surround you, your family and friends, especially your family. Be loving and kind to them. And especially, it's very important to be patient. That's extremely important. Milarepa said that the worst of afflictions is anger or hatred. So Milarepa said that the root of the lower realms is hatred. Therefore, I practice patience, even at the cost of my life. Milarepa wasn't afraid of anything except for hatred. So he said that don't fight with others. See everyone you encounter as a connection from a past life. You're connected from life to life. So therefore, please get along, rejoice in each other's virtue, and be harmonious with each other. So that's really most important. So again, now we stop the teachings here.
3D the tech quality for the Ngamang Jiana, there is a Kali, or soon Mayana, the CG last one, the hard driving Taji Bote, Kali, Luna, the same than you don't draw your not the same the trouble your said the dandy, the apology, Nigerian, the same the trouble, to the dandy trouble. The same command, the Bachelor, the young same the trouble your same woman, Nigerian, don't you worry, to the dandy trouble. Dandy trouble, you one of the trouble. The Havang take a big pay here. Was in Havang, was a year colon, Havang the same, send it to what you brought away. Take on how man be man, they said, pay money, same sort of young lord. Havang the quarter driving to Johnny bought on the to that take like a tower, you cut a church tower, Tamsi don't chimbo though, Chiquachangli, main Kakari Mato, Tamsi Sambata Niji, Zobatella, Sobatoni, Hajasa Chibori, Nanguichita Tama, Chiquachak Chushi was the same Samazo Jere, same Samazo, Dadi the Samazo, Dadi the Karika Sama, Zabti Sama Totore. The way Chupong Jetta Jong Sajo Sim the song, the Majdan Aki, Nigu, the Jagan, Quarter Dimension, the same Yab do your was the Torocha to the Tati Jago, then you know the Danito, the Haja Kitchen Bore, the same pig.
And then one more thing. So regarding the chanting of the mantras and the religious spiritual songs. That is actually also a very significant activity, very important activity, because when we think about them, and I was actually watching last night, and so when we think about, when we hear the sound, the sound is filled with words that carry meaning about love and compassion. And so when we chant these words, then naturally our mind begins to think about these qualities of love and compassion, and so. Therefore, actually, those who share these songs, who chant them, who share them, or who lead them, they really are emanations of a Buddha emanation, so of a Buddha or of a deity. That's really how we should see it, because they really disseminate the meaning of love and compassion. So when that's also why it's very important not to just quickly chant something or like recite, but to actually chant these words in a very beautiful melody, because then the mind is more likely to stay with it. For example, when we chant mantra, like the Yamantaka mantra and so forth, we chant them very slowly and in a pleasing melody, because that way the mind will actually follow the meaning of those words, the mantra. And the point of chanting these mantras is to purify the mind. And so the mind is purified if we cultivate faith, love, and compassion. And what we must cleanse from in our mind is self-grasping. So when we have faith toward those higher beings, or we have compassion for sentient beings, then that is what cleanses the mind of self-grasping. And when we cleanse self-grasping, then naturally all the other afflictive emotions will become purified. So therefore, it's extremely beneficial to chant a melody slowly and in like a melodious kind of sound and a melody. And this is also how I do it personally. For example, as I'm falling asleep, I listen to the sound of the chanted mantra. And then as I'm falling asleep, my mind just follows the sound. Actually, when we just straight recite something like Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum without any melody, it actually doesn't bring us much benefit. And that's because the mind is not that engaged in it. So I was also watching you the other day how you're chanting it in a very beautiful melody, and the words that you express all have the same meaning. We may give different gods or deities and so on. We give them different names, but the meaning is still the same. It's about love and compassion. And so that's whether it's Buddhism or any other tradition or other religion. The purpose of any religion is to purify the mind. And that means to purify self-grasping. And how can we do that? We do that through love and compassion. And therefore, we say that the 84,000 Dharma teachings have their root in bodhicitta. So now, when you listen to or when you chant a mantra or a spiritual song, it's good to chant it very slowly and in a beautiful melody, because then the mind can move together with it. For example, it's like a washing laundry in a washing machine. So it keeps turning and keeps spinning, and this is like how through this rotation then the clothes become clean. And so when we chant, the mind follows the melody, then this is what will purify the mind. That's so.
O mane be o re, 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 dewa de yarda da sere sewa rojune roa che jamaleva se sala goboyo ai bari saka longla takile yeah.
Om Tare Tu